In Lebanon, the escalation doesn't stop. Israel continues to launch raids on different parts of Lebanon. For its part, Hezbollah declares other qualitative strikes at Israel and successes in confronting Israeli infiltration attempts, where the drone attack Hezbollah carried out earlier this week on the Israeli Benyamina base still reverberates. The New York Times has reported that the deadly Hezbollah strike on Benyamina base shows Israel's weakness against drones. The paper said the strike has caused alarm in Israel as it prepares for a potential escalation with Iran. Citing military experts, it added that while Israel has one of the world's best defenses against missiles and rockets, it struggles to detect slower-moving unmanned aircraft. It also noted that the strike highlighted how Hezbollah retains the ability to hurt Israel despite devastating Israeli attacks on its leadership and infrastructure. To discuss these developments and their far-reaching consequences, we're joined from Beirut by Ms. Iman Shweikh, writer and political researcher. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, can you tell us why the Benyamina attack caused such a shock in Israel and the US? And was it a game changer when it comes to the fight between Hezbollah and the Israelis?
Can you repeat the question, please, because the sounds are interfering with each other?
Yes, sure. I was asking about the consequences of the attack on the Benyamina base on the Israeli society. In addition to the US, it was quite a shock for them. Why do you think this was such a shock?
I'd like to welcome you and all of your audience. It's not only a shock for the Israelis, but it's also a shock for Hezbollah and for the Lebanese internal affairs, because after the setbacks that the party faced at the technological level, intelligence level, military level, and leadership level, and the most significant setback was the assassination of the leader and all the frontline leaders. They also managed to destroy the most important military capabilities by striking the warehouses of weapons by Israelis. In addition to, we also saw a different type of operations like the attack against Benyamina that Israel considered to be the most violent since October 7th. The reason is that this operation was qualitative because Iran was directly in the front line. It started to manage the operations conducted by Hezbollah by the leaders of the Revolutionary Guards, the elite leaders who are by nature have enough experience, and they managed to use this experience in these escalating operations in south of Lebanon. After Iran and Hezbollah behind it recognized that there's no way to mitigate this escalation, especially after the assassinations and major explosion and the expanded operations since September 23rd. That's why I believe that this will affect the path of the battle. But I do not want to say that this would end the war. However, there are some indicators that state that both parties are ready to propose a certain draft to go to the negotiations table. However, this will be preceded by a very bloody battle, a very violent battle for both Lebanon and Israel, because Iran is in the line now.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you were saying that this could lead to some sort of ceasefire eventually, but the Israeli Prime Minister had spoke about, revenge for the attacks and so forth. Do you think that this possibly means that there will be more violence and more, aggressions from both sides in the near future due to this attack?
Of course, the speech of the Vice Secretary General of Hezbollah, Naim Qassem, he talked about the talked about the program of the party for the upcoming period. It answers a lot of your questions, especially on the part related to Hezbollah, because he said that they are ready to cease fire, and he directed a message to Israel, and he said that the solution for the return of the settlers to the north is ceasefire and only ceasefire. He also talked about the stop of the support, which is the reason why for igniting the conflicts in September 23rd. This means that the party is ready to cease fire, but after a settlement that Qasim mentioned, it's indirect settlement or indirect negotiations, as he expressed, through the international mediators. But if we see this from the Israeli side and what Netanyahu said, because he said that this war will be over only after achieving the goals. But at the same time, the military leadership and the political leadership of Israel will meet in order to identify the volume of the strike against Iran, after Iran targeted Israel last month in response to the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh and Hassan Nasrallah. Thus, Netanyahu does not want to explicitly declare that he accepts a ceasefire unless he guarantees the total exclusion of Hezbollah fighters in the south. Of course, he wants further than this, which is eliminating everything related to Hezbollah. They also want to interfere in the political system to guarantee that the party does not exist in the political compound of Lebanon, within the roadmap of Middle East in the future. But if Netanyahu thinks that there's direct confrontation with Iran in Lebanon, I think this will lead him to reconsider the form of the battle, but this doesn't mean that it would mitigate the pace of killing, massacres and destruction, because every day several massacres take place in Lebanon, similar to what happened in Gaza. So this dead time through which the negotiations are being done in the secret channels between both parties and through the mediators, we will face a large number of killed people, injured people, displaced people, people who are starved. We will face also economic crisis and siege that Israel is threatening with. So now there is nothing that indicates the existence of a diplomatic solution or a settlement or even the truce of 21 days that was included in the British-American urge a week ago. However, it's safe to say that there could be a solution, but this solution by nature requires concessions made by both parties, which will never happen unless Netanyahu accepts this, who is having a retaliatory battle.
I have to end the segment there because we're running out of time for this section of the In Focus episode. But that was Iman Shweikh, writer and political researcher from Beirut. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Thank you for joining us here on In Focus. Moving on, with Election Day just 3 weeks away, the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is heating up. Both candidates were in Pennsylvania, with Harris speaking in the northwest corner in Erie and Trump in the southern eastern suburbs of Philadelphia. However, polls show a near tie, and both candidates are making strategic moves to secure key voter groups. Democrat Harris and Republican Trump have been making regular appearances in what is the country's largest battleground state. It will be Harris's 10th visit to Pennsylvania this campaign season, and just last week, Trump made stops in both Scranton and Reading.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
The Washington Post highlighted Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hitting the campaign trail in Pennsylvania. During the rally, Harris has described her opponent Trump as dangerous and unhinged, arguing that the stakes are much higher than in 2016 or 2020 because of the Supreme Court decision granting presidents broad immunity for official acts they take in office. While Trump had to pause several times in his remarks as two of his fellow attendees appeared to faint during the rally. To delve more into this situation, we're joined now from New York by Dr. Shireen Al-Najjar, a member of the Democratic Party, and from Washington, Dr. Hazem El-Ghabra, a member of the Republican Party. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Let me just start off with Dr. Najjar. How do you assess Kamala Harris's statements on her rival Donald Trump on Monday during a rally where she said he's dangerous and unhinged?
Thank you for having me. I guess recently Trump had made some threatening remarks when it comes to his opponents, and he called some of the congressmen and senators and actually individuals as the enemy within. He's referring to, as he calls, the far right, and he said that probably he will get help from the military to get rid of the far left people. And also he called Adam Schiff as the enemy of the state. Of course, that's why she called him unstable. Also, he made remarks about the local police and that it is that the excessive force and some of the police abuse is justified because it will control crimes. All this here, turn people to think and to reflect on all these remarks, which sometimes sounds like it's unhinged, coming from a man that is supposed to be wants to be a president of the United States, that unite the states and the people and address the faults or the pitfall of the police practices. All this also comes at a time that is just less than 3 weeks left. In the meantime, Harris trying to reach out to the black males that are a little bit hesitant to vote for a female. And I guess her history as a prosecutor.
If we could also get the perspective of Dr. El-Ghabra, so we could talk, for the Republican Party. You heard Dr. Najjar talking about the idea of the, statements that Trump made and how this makes certain demographics, fearful. But do you think this is a way to appeal to a certain type of demographics? And from your perspective, do you think that Donald Trump has performed well in Pennsylvania or gained significant support ahead of the election?
A lot of interesting questions here. Let's start with the numbers, with the data coming from swing states. Trump, there has been a gap since the Democrats overnight switched candidate Biden with candidate Harris. That gap is closing fast, especially in swing states. Trump is starting to lead in some places. So the vector of these numbers are very, very satisfying for any Republican watcher or, campaign manager or worker. Now, when it comes to, the diction, political diction has been, over the past years, probably like a couple of decades, has been charged in the U.S. We know that. But I personally care more about actions than words. Trump was a president, and we saw all the things that the Democrats have been scaring the voter the end of democracy, the end of the republic, your life will change, your rights will go away. Well, Trump was president for 4 years. None of that happened. Absolutely none of it happened. So it's kind of curious how a voter would, react to such accusations, knowing that Trump was accused with the same things back in 2016, served his presidency, and again, none of the above has happened. Unfortunately, Harris, lacking a clear and tangible and convincing agenda, she moves into personal attacks, and unfortunately, since 2020, the Democrats have only had one campaign strategy: Trump is bad. And unfortunately, while they rely on that strategy, they've neglected governance, and we're seeing the effect of that all over the United States, with inflation, with increasing crimes, and a very, very, very bad border strategy that is bringing criminals into this country. This is what people care about, not what he said yesterday.
Okay. Well, Dr. Najjar, if you'd like to respond to Dr. Al-Ghabra's statement when it comes to the idea of Harris's campaign focusing on how Trump is just bad. Do you think this is a true statement? And also, if you could tell us a bit about the campaigning when it comes to swing states, do you think that Harris has fared better now?
I guess at the beginning, the momentum for Harris has slowed down a little bit. And yes, we have some swing states that the gap is narrowing. At the beginning, of course, when Biden was running, we saw that it tilted towards Trump. But right now, I think the gap is narrowing. And also the momentum for her presidency candidacy is slowing down as well. I would just like to refer to Trump when he was in office. I guess he did serve 4 years in office, and the people of the United States decided not to vote for him. So running again, I'm not sure how is that going to change. One thing also I would like to refer to, when Trump was in power, in the office, he supported the white supremacy, and we've seen that repeatedly. His strategy towards the minority, people of color, has been very, noticeable and reflected in people like us who are, immigrant, legal immigrant to the United States. Also, he had made some remarks about Harris at the beginning. He didn't know her ethnicity. Is she a black woman or an Indian woman? And all this here, finally, she started to respond to him by attacking him personally. All this here is just an indication that I'm not sure what Trump is going to bring into the table more than what he brought before when he was in office. Also, his leniency toward
Dr. Najjar, okay, it seems that there's a bit of a sound issue, Dr. Najjar. If we could sort of move to Dr. Al-Ghabra. Let's talk about the voting process itself. With both candidates campaigning heavily in swing states like Pennsylvania, what's Trump's strategy for securing support there, especially among the undecided voters?
At this point, with a couple of weeks separating us from Election Day, the strategy for both candidates is presence. However, Trump is doing something very curious and very unusual. He realized that the battle is not only on the ground, but also on TV stations and on TV screens and on social media. So he's also making stops in very solid blue states that will be impossible for him to win. And he's making a stop in Chicago. He's making a stop in New York. These are very solid blue states. However, with that strategy, he's trying to attract media attention. He's trying to attract the attention of the local media in these states that have not seen a Republican presidential candidate in quite a while. So we'll see. That's a dangerous strategy, but it's an interesting one. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously, on the ground, the get out the vote operations are ramping up. The campaigns, both campaigns, will spend all the money they have in the next couple of weeks. So we're inundated by messages and campaign ads. It's campaign season in the U.S. I mean, we're used to it. But it seems like every term there's like more money and like more advertising and more product that gets pushed out of both campaigns. It's the nature of it. But for now, I think Trump is doing the right thing, is doing interesting things. And we see, as I said, we see the numbers. And the numbers are what matter at the end of the day, especially in swing states where Trump continues, as I said, to remove and surpass their opponent. And I just want to make a very quick point because Dr. Shireen, I hope she's still online with us, but she mentioned that the American people did not vote for Trump. That's very inaccurate. Half of the American people voted for Trump. It's not like this is not all people vote the same way kind of case, but this is how elections go. And elections in the U.S.
Yes.
is a very technical issue.
Well,
you have the swing states, you have the electoral college. It's very technical. So that a campaign not winning or a candidate not winning doesn't mean he's a bad person and people are rejecting him.
We understand that point, but because we're short on time, so we're trying to get in as many questions as possible. If we could go to Dr. Najjar, could you tell us a bit about why Harris agreed to an interview with Fox News chief political anchor Bret Baier next Wednesday, and what do you think that the primary focus of the interview is, and how can this help her campaign?
I guess there's, again, we have some voters that are still undecided in both parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Coming to Fox News, to the House of the Republican, is to be more decisive and more accurate when it comes to her referring to the agenda, because sometimes some of the critics telling us that, or letting her know that her agenda need to be a little bit accurate or more decisive, because she's more vague when she says she's going to make America, or this is the middle class, and she's going to revive the middle class and not cut taxes, impose more taxes on the rich. All this here, an opportunity, future for small businesses. I guess my hope next meeting that she will be explain it more in details. Also, Trump in this last meeting, I noticed that he was dancing for 30 minutes, and it's so ironic because they made fun of Harris about her laugh, and she's not a presidential. I'm not sure. I'm hoping the next 2 weeks it will be, more
focus on the campaign
for the public and for the American people.
Well, unfortunately, we're sort of out of time for this episode, but that was Dr. Shireen Najjar, a member of the Democratic Party from New York, and joining us also from Washington was Dr. Hazem El-Ghabra, a member of the Republican Party. Thank you both for sharing your insights today on this episode. That wraps up our episode of today. For In Focus, stay tuned for more exclusive stories here on QNews. Thank you for watching.